What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Boy Detectives. My name is Anthony Zonfrelli.
And I'm Will Van Antwerp, and we are the Boy Detectives. How you doing, Anthony?
Right. Doing pretty good. How are you, Will?
Doing terrible, because we both lost last week in a robot draft.
It's true. Some of us lost by more than others.
I feel like it was my best team, and the fact that I came in third place says a lot more about the voters than it does about me.
Yeah, and I actually have to thank you because you sniped me 3 or 4 times in the back half of that draft, and you ended up coming in, second to last. So thank you for saving me that.
What? We both lost, so it doesn't matter.
We did. I do feel much better when I am like barely edged out of second place, but the fact that I don't win, you're right, it does leave a sour taste in my mouth. Also, big shout out for that personal footage by our producer Matt in that intro. That was great.
Love to see it. Do we now? I as I understand, the winner from last week has a little message you'd like to share with the class.
What's up, Boy Detectives? Will G here to gloat about the victory of Electric Avenue over the other robot teams. It was fierce competition, but in the end, I'm confident in the choices that we made as an organization. I just want to say, I guess we found out the one mystery the Boy Detectives couldn't solve was the case of the winning robot football team. And that's no shit. Take care. Have a good show, guys.
Well, damn. The first person to ever actually make a comment on the name Boy Detectives, which is completely nonsensical at this point.
doesn't make any sense. I don't know why we chose it, but
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. The robot draft, neither here nor there. What's here and there right now is the sandwich draft. So help us welcome in our sandwich drafters, Nate Lopez and John Serpico.
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Hello.
Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you.
Serpico, would you mind telling us what a sandwich means to you?
All right. So
And bear in mind, we only have 54 minutes.
all right. Okay. All right. I'll do real quick. You know, the year was like 1066, you know.
All right. So, Nate, I heard that you, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, you were in a sandwich fantasy football league.
Yep.
Sandwich-related fantasy football league.
Yeah. For 4 years, I was. Yes.
Right. And what were the major rules of that league?
If you took last place, you get slapped in the face with a sandwich.
That's great. And how'd you do in that league?
So I took third place the first year.
How about after that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I took last 3 years in a row.
Have you? My question is because I heard all this and I want to know: have you taken any of these sandwiches to the face?
I've been waiting. You know, I'm here. Everyone knows where I live. They just got to.
At this point, would you prefer it to be a surprise, or do you want them to call ahead first?
You know, at this point, I'm just thinking they're not going to do it. So I'm on easy street. Nothing to worry about. I'm going to go. No sandwich to this face.
Man, I was going to say, because if you took some to the face, then maybe you'd have an edge on this draft.
I don't need an edge. I'm going against you guys. I can go in blind.
I'd like to address what I'm sure is a big controversy with the audience, thinking, where are Will's yellow sunglasses that he always wears? And I'd like to tell you all, I can't find them.
You can't. You haven't gone anywhere to wear sunglasses.
This is shocking.
It's as big a mystery to me as it is to you.
Oh, I hope they're under that pair of sunglasses.
I just pull them off and reveal the yellow pair somehow. Okay.
There they are.
Well, we've heard from both of you, so let's move on to the more important piece, which is the draft. Anthony, fire up the draft order, fake 40-yard dash.
Here we go.
All right, come on. We got a lot riding on this first pick.
Whole bunch. Oh,
here we go.
Yeah, start strong. Oh,
slow start. Oh, hey, look at this.
Oh, John,
wants it more.
turning on the burners.
Herb wants it more. Come on.
Oh, this is my.
There we go. Come on. Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Nate. So slow. Looks like you ate a sandwich at the 50-yard line.
Poopy.
All right, so it looks like the order is going to myself, John, Will, and then Nate. Will, would you mind telling us about your team name and coach?
Yeah, so I've changed my team name 3 times now. I can't promise I won't change it again during the episode. But right now I'm pretty happy with Jersey Mike Ditka. Hilarious pun tying together both a famous sandwich chain and famous football coach, leading to my coach, the Earl of Sandwich. Now, this is not the inventor of the sandwich, the Earl of Sandwich. This is his 7th offspring. This is the 11th Earl of Sandwich. The sandwich was invented by the 4th Earl. But just to give you a little bit of the noble heritage of where sandwiches came from.
He's the Earl.
Sandwiches, they're only 7 Earls old.
Exactly. Wow. Makes you think.
John, your team?
Sure. So my team is also a piece of advice. It's order a large, you'll be hungry later. A large is usually twice the size of a small and not twice the price, meaning your dollar goes further when you order a large and wrap it up and put it in your fridge. And my coach is Vince Lombardi sub. He could do it all. He makes a lot of people happy all at once. And, he has look at that Italian chin. That's a fine Italian chin under all those cured Italian meats.
Excellent. And in doing so, you took my defense in the party sub. Nate, how about your team?
My team name is the Washington Sandwich Club. And my coach is just Andy Reid. I feel like he's the most suited for this. I'm leadership. He's a Super Bowl champ and a sandwich champ.
I like that
Absolutely.
his COVID shield would in no way hamper his ability to eat a big sandwich.
I assume the mustache fights off COVID. I don't know.
It's fine.
It's got its own filtration system. And my team name is Bacon, Lettuce, and Touchdowns. Hilarious pun combining the popular sandwich BLT and a football term. My coach is the high school football coach of Sandwich, Massachusetts. I believe his name is Matt McLean. We just found out. I will be sure to tag him in our post after this if I find him.
Big shout out to Matt.
It's weird that you had this picture in your cell phone. I don't like that.
All right, so I guess I'll do the honors of the first pick.
McRib?
Will, you just stepped on my joke. I was 100% going to pretend to go for a McRib again, but I've learned from my mistakes. I can get the McRib much later if I want.
Don't reach for a McRib, both in this draft and in real life.
In real life, never reach for one. If you see it sitting there, just don't reach for it.
I had a McRib removed.
All right, I am going for a running back first of all, and I'm going to draft a steak and cheese sub as my running back first overall.
Huh,
Yep.
running back.
But where did you have your steak and cheese, Will?
Tight end. But why don't you explain why you have it a running back?
Mostly because I think it's powerful, and coming out of Philly, you got Miles Sanders, you got Brian Westbrook, a lot of good things come out of Philly.
Carson Wentz.
Andy Reid. Hey, they're one of the most run efficient teams in the NFL right now. They're just choosing not to.
Wow.
Steak and cheese sub is my pick.
NFC East right now.
I mean, it's only one game out, so
Yeah. Will's all cocky because his Giants just pulled off a Colt McCoy win.
Okay. No, I had steak and cheese really high on my board. I think it's a solid pick. Now, my question to you would be, does it come with any kind of accoutrement? Does it come with peppers, onions, that sort of deal?
I mean, probably peppers and onions if we're on the goal line, but other than that, probably not.
Okay.
I like it. Can't argue with that pick. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I figured go solid. I learned from McRib. Don't get too flashy too soon.
There you go.
Sure.
There you go.
Literally your entire life has been building to this moment.
I feel like my entire life was building to the moment where I would pick second overall in a sandwich draft and lose my steak and cheese to the number one pick. Top of my board, highlighted and underlined.
You know what's funny? I think Ben Scaria's whole life was building to this too.
Yeah.
Well, we can get him on the
That's a shame.
sandwich draft too.
Maybe he can have an expansion team.
Yeah.
Take what's left of the pool.
Oh my God, all these various cast-off sandwiches.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since the steak and cheese is off the board, my pick is a similarly famous all-star sandwich, a sandwich you can build a franchise around. I'm going to go with the All-American Cheeseburger.
Mm-hmm.
It's Johnny Unitas. It's the kind of as quarterback. It's a franchise building quarterback of a sandwich. It's versatile. You can dress it up. You can dress it down. You can have a sandwich in a backyard. You can have it in a stadium. You could have it at a steakhouse. It's great. It's light and agile and mobile if it has lettuce, tomatoes, and onions. You could also top it with heavier things like nice, rich, heavy cheeses and bacon. So it really can do it all. And I'm happy it fell to 2.
When McDonald's is the worst version of you, I think you're pretty good.
That's a great point. Like the floor for this sandwich is McDonald's, which is the equivalent of going like 12 for 20 with like a touchdown and no picks. That's still not a terrible game.
What is this? 1977, 20 passes?
Yeah, 20 yards.
Now, that's a very apropos kind of discussion, because my question was going to be, aren't you concerned about the low ceiling of a burger?
So I have had, it's not hard to make a burger really delicious. To make it like one of the best bites of food you've ever eaten is very hard.
Right.
But like to get it to that, just out of the All-Star game conversation, like anyone can do it. Just don't press them down too much on the grill. Season with salt and pepper, let the burgers do their work, have it on a nice bun, toast the bun first. Like, it's easy. These are not complicated techniques. And the fact that you can top it to your liking makes it all the more versatile. And so what this gives, even if it's not going to make the All-Star game every year, I have a versatile quarterback that does a lot for a lot of people. And again, you don't need to go to the Super Bowl with someone that's throwing 4 touchdowns a game. They just need to be reliable, and that's what a cheeseburger is.
Yeah,
I'm just asking for his cheeseburger to be a game manager.
I mean, leave it to a
I
giant.
want more than Kyle Bowler.
A giant man's going to draft Eli, man.
I didn't want to say Eli. All right. I'll take it over because it does feel like we're spending about 11 minutes on each sandwich, which is not sustainable. It's good conversation. It's good. And I am going to take, honestly, probably my favorite personal sandwich on the board. And that is going to be an Italian sub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love a delicious Italian sub. Multiple meats. You can swap in, swap out. Again, a lot of good toppings, but some really, really solid ones like hot, some fresh lettuce, tomato, onion, some oil and vinegar on there would make it perfect. Comes down to great bread. And then if we look at some of the best quarterbacks in history, what do we see? A bunch of Italians, right? You got Dan Marino.
Vinny
you got Joe Montana.
You got Vinny Testaverde.
Big city lights don't scare the Italian sub named Vinny Testaverde.
Brett Porter's last name ends in a vowel. I think that we got a lot of really good ones.
I don't know if Doug Flutie is Italian, but in my mind he is. So, yeah, I think he's a cousin to this pick.
I don't want anything to do with Doug Flutie.
That's my line, damn it.
All right.
All right, Nate, you're on the turn.
Yep, I'm going to draft running back first. This is, again, I'm just going with Will. This is my personal favorite sandwich. This is what I order at every single little sub shop all up and down the East Coast. I'm going with pastrami, a hot pastrami here at running back. I want something that's just going to be powerful. I want to hit you in the gut. When it's good, it's really, really good. When it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Now, are you talking just like, are you doing like the whole like Reuben song and dance, or is it just like mustard on rye bread for you?
I'm talking mustard and even like a hoagie bun. I'm talking a bunch of pastrami, mustard, a little bit of provolone, and like a smidgen of lettuce, maybe banana peppers at the most.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Now, I'm seeing some people calling it blasphemy that I don't want anything to do with Doug Flutie. I had a personal, very negative experience in a parking lot with Doug Flutie that I don't want to get into, but it gives me a lifelong vendetta against him.
No.
Did he just steal your parking spot?
I don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
Did he jump really high to look you in the eyes?
We on the turn? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go quarterback with this pick. To even out the pastrami spiciness, I'm just going with a club sandwich here. It's safe, it's reliable. I know it's not sexy, but it's always good. You can have it at a funeral. You can have it on the golf course. I love them.
Hey, you know what? Trent Dilfer won a
Great at
Super Bowl.
funerals.
What was that, sir? Trent
Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
You guys, you're aiming so low with your highest pick. Now, do you have a favorite club? Is it the turkey, or are you going to surprise us with something like a cheeseburger club or some bullshit?
Oh, no, turkey club. Yeah.
Okay.
Get a big old, like an inch of turkey, and some nonsense cheese, mayonnaise, tomato. I like that shit. That's good. That's all.
Oh, God, it's back to me already.
Sure is.
I feel like a club a club sandwich is going to be great in like the commentary booth after he retires.
I
For
mean,
Romo, yeah.
Yeah, like a Tony Romo type sandwich.
he looks like a quarterback. I'm sorry. He looks like a quarterback to me.
Full disclosure, I had him at tight end because he was so tall. Yeah, you got a real Elway quarterback here. Drafting the tallest guy on the board.
Immobile, useful for
Oh,
Yeah.
just the slightest breeze will tip it over.
Hey, those toothpicks might be really valuable on the field.
Don't
They're
discount
holding his
the
ACL together.
All right, a lot of good options on the board. Man, Turkey Club, that was way too early. I am torn, but I am going to go for, oh boy, two of my favorite sandwiches. I think this one's going to be gone by the time it gets back to me, so I'm just going to go for it now. That's the buffalo chicken sandwich. I want that at wide receiver.
Yep.
Now, it's a complete opposite of what Nate and John are doing. This is a high ceiling, low floor sandwich. A buffalo chicken sandwich, if made poorly with really processed chicken, it's soggy, can be one of the worst sandwich experiences you have. But that said, an elite buffalo chicken sandwich, like the one you could get at, say, All-Star Sandwich Bar, the Wilson, big shout out. Now, that to me is one of the best bites of food you can have anywhere. I love a good buffalo chicken sandwich.
It's a pick like that wins you games during the regular season, but all it takes is one bad game in the playoffs and you don't win it, you know?
You know, what if you have that sandwich at the Super Bowl? Your whole party's ruined.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
What's safe at the Super Bowl? A big old club sandwich.
Uh-huh. Everyone loves the club sandwich.
You don't
Everyone really likes
it safe. You need high upside guys with really low floors like Eli Manning who can go on a hot streak for 4 straight games, and before you know it, you've upset the best team in Super Bowl history.
Twice.
Oh, my God.
I will always like Eli for that.
But anyways, he's my wide receiver because he's got a little bit of flash to him too with that spice.
I like that.
I can't believe you would equate Eli Manning to something as spicy as a buffalo chicken sandwich. That's just absurd.
What about Joe Flacco? Does that make it better?
Flacco's just a piece of white bread.
Wonder bread, yeah.
Okay. So
All right, John.
I have a feeling that that this sandwich wouldn't make it back around to me. This is a sandwich that I think has a higher floor and really a limitless ceiling.
Wow.
At running back,
Sounds like it should have been your first pick.
I want to pay Cheeseburger first round salary. Okay, like Cheeseburger deserves it. My second round pick at running back, the Cuban sandwich.
Oh,
Good call. Good call.
I feel like it's kind of a thunder and lightning sandwich. It's, you can have Cubans that are really thin on nice crispy bread. You can have big heavyweight Cuban sandwiches. A good example of a big heavyweight Cuban sandwich would be at Highland Kitchen, because they layer a ton of pulled pork on there too, and the bread's nice and crusty. So
yeah, it's all butter.
So it really can run the gamut between being like a real bruising between the tackles kind of sandwich, and also a sandwich that can play in space.
I like that it's good with mustard and salad dressing.
It's good with mustard and salad dressing. That's something for everybody.
and that's what you want in a running back.
Absolutely.
All right.
The run game and the pass game.
Matt, if you want to cut over to my screen, I've got some live footage of a Cuban sandwich being made from one of my favorite movies to watch.
Oh yeah, this is a great scene and a good sandwich.
We did a whole show once, me and John, about a food truck.
Yeah,
Look at that.
it's a super fun show. Real close quarters, everyone talking, having a good time, cooking your favorite foods.
Oh, these guys are loving this Cuban sandwich.
Yeah.
Look at John Favreau. He's like, that's a good Cuban sandwich.
Lake Mazamo enough. Lake Mazamo signs off. I'm on board.
John Favreau is like, I date Scarlett Johansson and Sofia Vergara in this movie. And this is still the best part of this movie for me.
John Favreau, you say you're directing it too? How about that?
Oh my god,
It's so funny how that happens. What a coincidence. Incidentally, yeah, we've made the pasta from that movie a bunch of times, and it's really good.
Mhm. Hell yeah.
All right. Anthony, finish out the second round.
Okay. So here's the thing. I went with steak and cheese as my running back as opposed to tight end because I was hoping I could get this big old tight end later, and I'm gonna go with a meatball sub as my tight end.
Yeah. That's a very good call.
So that, yeah, the way this board just fell really nicely for me. When you called out that a steak and cheese sub, you're like, oh, running back, I had him at tight end. I agreed with you, but tried to have my steak and cheese at meatball sub too. Meatball sub, I think, comes with a bigger punch. I think it's got a lot less finesse than a steak and cheese. And that's probably typical of tight ends versus other skill players. So meatball sub is my tight end.
It's the kind of tight end that'll play with a hand on the ground, like come up, make the block, get into space. A meatball sub's not going to give you 100 yards a game, but a meatball sub will keep your steak and cheese upright.
That's right. Hey, I just need it to be steady. Just catch a few balls.
Yeah,
you got to be careful.
I'm worried it's Anthony Firkser. I'm worried you're drafting really slow, like end of career Kyle Rudolph level.
You're worried that I'm drafting Anthony Firkser? What were his stats this weekend?
There's a strong explosion out the back end of this sandwich potential too. You're not going to make the sandwich clean.
I don't know. Anthony Firkser this week, 5 for 51 on 7 targets. I'll take that. That's all I need.
With a lot of people that really want a low ceiling, solid guys. Let's shoot for the moon, gentlemen.
I'm just saying, Gronk could also be a meatball sub. Oh. He's got about the same IQ.
It's based on meatballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His meatball IQ is like 5, which is really
5
good
meatballs.
For a sub, but 5 meatballs. Yeah.
I had meatball sub at defense, just to be honest, because it really slows the other team down.
Yeah.
And I imagine you'd be able to spread the balls across the field.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay. All right. On to round 3. I feel like I have a solid base here, so I'm gonna go a little bit out of the ordinary. I think I'm gonna zig another zag, and as my quarterback, I'm going to take the breakfast sandwich. Bacon, egg, and cheese. And breakfast, the most important meal of the day. QB, most important position on the field. You got to do it right, and I think I just did. So breakfast sandwich for me at QB.
I had them at tight end. That was my. I was hoping to get that at tight end.
That is my number 2 quarterback on the board for me. You want a quarterback that
love to hear it.
Rises early, is dedicated, hitting the film.
That's right. But also good any time of day.
Breakfast sandwich is up at dawn.
Yep, exactly.
Going a bagel, an English muffin. It's versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First one in, last one out.
There it is. All right. So, again, I feel like a Cuban was a hell of a steal. I feel like Cuban's a running back that could do everything. And so what I need now to supplement that is a really, really high speed wide receiver, a flashy wide receiver. And so I'm going to go with at wideout a banh mi sandwich. And here's why. Banh mi is a street food sandwich. You're on your feet when you eat it. And very rarely, because of all those great vegetables, all those great pickled vegetables and cilantro, it feels fresh. It's not going to weigh you down. A traditional banh mi is done on really good French bread. It's usually long and thin. It's a nice, kind of long, lean running back or long, lean wide receiver of a sandwich. And
I feel like this is a kicker. I'm not gonna lie. This
banh mi is a kicker.
That's what it feels like. You're drafting some European guy,
Yeah.
Plays for Arsenal.
It's like all my kickers got hurt, and so I just bring in somebody from like Tottenham Hotspur. All right, all you gotta do is just kick that ball through there.
Just give it everything you got.
Yeah, but the
right.
thing is, I think banh mi 10 years ago may not have had the kind of domestic appeal, but I think these days there are enough places doing fancy banh mi's that it has elevated the street food banh mi. And honestly, anytime you're in a place with 3 or more food trucks, one of them is banging out banh mi sandwiches. So I think that's prolific enough that you can have it as an elite wide receiver.
I love it. You guys are clearing out my board. Now, I guess I'll just follow up. I'm a lover of banh mi myself. But what would be your preferred meat on a banh mi sandwich? Because there are options.
Yeah, for me, I like the thin sliced marinated roast pork. That's kind of the heavier version of it. But honestly, I've seen places do it really well with tofu. You know, that's the light. It's like you're eating air at that point. Like it's all flavor and it's not going to weigh you down. So I think there's versatility even within the banh mi. But if I'm picking one for myself, it's roast pork.
All right, now that we've bought enough time for Will to make his selection.
And get another beer, which leads us to, I just saw it, Anthony. I swear to God, if you're drinking it again. All right, let's do a little can check. What's everybody drinking right now? Sir?
Kool-Aid in a used smart water bottle because there doesn't have any glasses.
No follow-up question.
Banh mi sandwich with Kool-Aid and a used vitamin water bottle.
The drink of champions.
This is just water for me. I'm sorry.
All right. What do you got, Anthony?
Son
of a bitch.
You know what? I couldn't let down the faithful listeners that tune in every week, and can't wait to see me drinking a haze. Brewing the same pack that Will got me probably 2 months ago now.
He drinks one every week. All right, and I'll finish it up. I've got a Chinookard by Lawson's Finest Liquid. Kind of an interesting word, Chinookard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't say it too often. I don't want the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's move on from that. I am going to take my running back. This was my gamble. I wanted to choose between the buffalo sandwich and this one on my last pick, but I thought this one might still be available. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to take a running back, the Euro. Maybe my second favorite sandwich to eat myself on the board. I love Euros. There's a great place in Davis. There's a great place down in Cambridge on Mass Ave called Greek Corner where you can get them.
Greek Corner's real good.
It's unbelievable. And I just feel like it's a solid, it's hearty, it'll hit the hole. There's no frills about it. This is not going to be a running back that dances around in the backfield, right? You got your meat, you got your tzatziki, you got maybe the most frilly thing it'll have in it is French fries.
Now, do you like the French fries in the gyro?
They got to be good fries.
Yeah.
For me, it makes it too big. Like, I don't want to deal with all that.
I normally don't like it, but Greek Corner is, or I'm sorry, what's the place in Davis? They're so good that I allow it. But in general, I would prefer no French fries.
Yeah, it's got to be like hot and crunchy.
Now, what I love about so New Jersey is full of diners, awesome diners. And many of them are owned by Greek families. They've been in the same family for generations. And what's nice about a New Jersey diner, every one of them will serve a great gyro. Every one of them will serve them with French fries on the side. And if you ask nicely, they'll give you an extra thing of tzatziki sauce to dip the French fries, which I would argue is the best thing to dip French fries in.
I love tzatziki. I mean, people are making fun of the pronunciation of gyro in the chat. Euro is easy. Tzatziki is hard. But one thing so it's Opa Greek Gyros in Davis, very, very solid. They taught me is that actually you wouldn't think it, culture's coming together, but hot sauce, really, really good in a Euro.
The tzatziki absorbs so much heat that you could just drench it in hot sauce and it'll still work for you. That's a great pick.
Specifically is what they use.
You got a powerful running back full of flavor in round 3. That's a good pick.
Yeah. and just for the haters in the chat, that's a gyro, baby.
Oh,
All right, Nate, on the clock.
all right. With my third pick, I am going to go with just a really powerful wide receiver here. I'm really happy he fell to the third round. I'm not going to say the name of the restaurant, so I'm going to describe the sandwich instead. It's fried chicken on a biscuit with a pickle.
Hell yeah, man.
That sandwich is unreal. It's there we go. We'll call it a Popeye's chicken sandwich. It's so freaking good, you guys. It's it's so good. This sandwich can be good for breakfast. It can be good for midnight snack. It can be good when you're drunk. It's good when you're stoned. It's good no matter wherever. It's a great sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault that pick at all.
Now, how about a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich?
That's the one I don't want to go to.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
But Chick-fil-A is great. Don't get me wrong, it's good. If I have the choice, I'll go to Popeyes.
you got to understand, I'm pretty stupid, so that one went over my head.
If you spend $5 on that particular chicken sandwich, you have to donate like $10 to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Karmically even you out. But
Even
here's
out.
the thing. You can screw up fried chicken. It's easy to screw up fried chicken, but any place that does a fried chicken sandwich is never going to screw it up.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's impossible to screw up. It's too good.
Yeah, it's too good.
All right.
All right, so on your Twitter thumbnail, I will take a photo of a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, but call it a Popeye's chicken.
Perfect. That's exactly what I want.
Okay.
Bingo.
And then some people might have a problem with me calling this a tight end, but I'm calling it a tight end. I want an open face Thanksgiving leftover sandwich.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
I want cranberry sauce. I want green beans. I want turkey. I want mashed potatoes, stuffing, gravy, all on a piece of white bread. It's so good. I'm okay with even using a fork and knife for this one.
That sandwich has the mobility of Jason Witten in 5 years. But this would not be a draft if a gobbler sandwich didn't go off the board.
I mean, that's a tight end or a left guard. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
honestly, I had it as a defense.
So did I thought of a different defense, so I moved it up.
Green beans on the sandwich is real bold, by the way.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Green beans on the sandwich is real bold.
I love it. I want them all. I want all the flavors on.
Well, if green beans on a sandwich is what's up your alley, John, then let me tell you, I've got a sandwich for you with my fourth overall pick.
Oh man,
great transition by me.
I think I know where it is, and I'm so excited for you, Will.
So a
Green
tight
bean
end,
on white bread.
Well, a tight end, you want someone a little crazy, a little kooky with some flair. So I am going to take the Chacarera.
Chacarera sandwich, baby.
One of the most enjoyable sandwiches. I think it maybe doesn't have the name recognition that a lot of people have, but that said, in terms of enjoyment of sandwiches, you'd be hard pressed to find something that I like more. It's got weird ingredients though. It's got the avocado spread. It's got Munster cheese. It's got green beans on it and that weird frisbee bread. But all of it works. It works perfectly with seasoned steak into maybe the most enjoyable lunch you can have in downtown Boston.
Yeah, dude. The only thing I would say is that would probably have been there around later. Like,
I know, but the transition with the green beans was too good to pass up.
It's a great sandwich, and yeah, the Chacarera place in downtown Boston they've been that good for years. For years, I've been going there, and they've never made a bad sandwich.
Oh, I've been going there since I was on co-ops back in 2010, and the line on a nice day all the way around the block going. I don't know. Up
You don't
Washington
even
Street.
mind. You don't even mind the freaking line there.
No, because they move so efficiently. It's unbelievable. They're throwing sandwiches together before you've even ordered it.
Hell yeah.
And they're all great. Like you said, never had a bad one. And just, whether you want the beef, you want the chicken, you want the combo, you're feeling really crazy. If you want heat, let me tell you, that is a spicy sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
That is not, we're just going to pour some Franks on it. That is, you buckle up. You're going to be sweating at your desk if you eat this.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. For my round 4, I am stunned that this sandwich fell to me. I think this is a prototypical tight end sandwich. I think it's got the frame. This is the equivalent of a 6'3", 230-pound sandwich that runs like a 4.6. We're going with a chicken parm sub.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it can do it all. I think it's a fan favorite. In my mind, a chicken parm sub from Bob's Italian Food in Medford is one of the singular great sandwiches of my life. It's real good, and there are a lot of different ways to do it, but just like on a nice, soft, pillowy Italian roll, braided roll, sesame seeds, chicken parm, real good sauce. It's awesome. And if there's more bread than sandwich, you rip the bread off and dip it in the sauce at the end. Like, I feel like the chicken parm just can't go wrong. And when it goes right, it is Tony Gonzalez. It is elite level competition.
I'll be honest. Every time I order a chicken parm, though, I kind of wish I'd ordered something else.
I'm with Nate. I think chicken parm is one of the most overrated items on any menu.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just, it's got the components it should be, but I'm always a little disappointed I ordered it.
Nate, let me float a theory to you why you and I don't like it so much. And it's because it's all savory. There's no acid, there's no heat, there's no spice element to it. It's just starch.
Yes. It's so filling, like it's heavy. You get a third, 2/3 of the way through, and you feel like you're done. But you don't want to take home the little heel, and you should be liking it. It's just, it needs something else for me.
Salt, fat, acid, heat. It's missing the heat.
Chicken, parm, chicken, and parm.
The 4 key components to a good tight end.
But here's the thing, though. I also look at a chicken parm sub as like tailgate food for me. Like, it's one
during the game.
I mean, when I see a chicken parm sub, I'm pretty happy. And maybe it's a result of where I'm getting it, but like any place I get it, don't order a chicken parm sub from like a pizzeria if they have good like order a chicken parm sub from a place that does sandwiches, and it's going to work out for it. Like, I'm very rarely, if ever, going to take a chicken parm sub over a pizza from a pizzeria. But if I'm going to Bob's or another sub shop and they got a chicken parm on the menu, I'm going to get it.
Okay, I'm going to trust you. Yeah. If you're wrong, well.
Beef of Wellington is saying they went to the hospital after eating a chicken parm sub. So
that sounds great.
Get out of chicken parm's way.
the show, but if you could just give us a little bit more story in the chat, maybe we can revisit it around 5.
I mean, honestly, that means that a chicken parm sub is hard to block, and you're going to want to give it a lot of space. That's a chicken parm sub is going to make catches over the middle of the field, or apparently it'll put you in the hospital.
Now, Matt, do we have an interesting points after this?
I believe yes.
All right,
and I believe it's about
we gotta go.
Yeah, we're pushing it.
All right, Anthony.
All right. So I'm gonna go with a wide receiver, and for a wide receiver, you do want something a little bit more flashy, but still with lots of power, which is why I'm going to go with a torta asada.
Oh,
as my wide receiver.
I like it. It's basically
specifically from Tenoch, right down the street from us.
Not Campechano. Not Campechano.
No. Torta asada de Tenoch con queso y carne.
Oof.
Nate, is this tough for you?
It's like, not even close, but it's all right.
Are these mind games? Is Anthony doing this to just hurt us enough?
Just make you like see defeat before the game even starts. All right. So Torta's my wide receiver, and to keep this going, I'm just gonna go with my next pick right away as my kicker. All I have left is a kicker and defense, right? Yeah, okay. So my kicker. Kickers are cheap on your team. Will, what do you use to kick a football with?
Your foot.
I'm going to go with a $5 foot long as my kicker.
That's a good pick.
I don't think I need any more explanation.
It's a good pick.
All right, for me, I'm going with a kicker as well. You want a kicker you can forget about. You don't want a memorable kicker. You want someone that can consistently hit 40-yard field goals day in and day out. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh!
Oh. Yep, I had them in the kicker lane too.
Cheap and very few moving parts. That thing's never going to get injured.
Yep.
All right. Well,
Great pick.
all right. I'm going to go kicker too.
Love to see a good snipe.
I wasn't going to go PB&J. I was going to go for a different one. But I'm actually going to switch it up on the fly because I am seeing a lot of people that are taking safe picks all around. And I am here to tell you, you don't win Super Bowls by playing it safe. You win Super Bowls by having high ceiling players that perform at the best of their abilities. So I am going to take a very risky sandwich with a flair for the dramatic, and that is the French dip sandwich. There's kind of a natural kicking motion to dipping the French dip into the au jus. It's European. And I think when you get a good French dip, it really is an extremely satisfying bite of food.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to argue with it. I like it. It's a little heavy, but I like it.
Well, it's a Sebastian Janikowski style kicker.
That's a lot of kicker.
All right, I'm going to go controversial on mine. Bringing up Janikowski, I'm a Broncos fan. I still love this guy. He's my favorite kicker ever. I really like when kickers cause drama. I'm going with the hot dog.
Oh
my God.
Smart money was right.
That's my kicker, baby. A hot dog.
Right.
You know, I
You're
buried
losing this vote on pick.
I'm
I
gaming
buried
a
a
hot
time
dog vote.
capsule 20 years ago that said one day Nate Lopez is going to draft a hot dog in a sandwich draft as a kicker.
And then,
Are you on Twitter anymore, or are you off Twitter?
oh, it raised my blood pressure too much. I had to get off.
Hold on, because can we, Matt? Can you cut over to my screen real quick? I don't know if you saw this earlier, but somebody said somebody's going to draft a hot dog and the whole thing will be derailed. And then I said, and this was at 12 o'clock today, smart money is on Nate Lopez.
Yep.
Oh,
God
that's
damn.
amazing. Give yourself a high five, man. That's incredible. Wow. Well, I'll go ahead and drop my defense. I'm going way off the reservation on this. We said to think of groups and think of a defensive property. So on this one, I'm going with any sandwich made by Scooby and Shag. That's my defense.
Huh.
You know,
All right.
it's a little bit more of an offensive defense, right? With the smell lines, you can literally pick people off their feet. They're huge. They're intimidating. And they're everywhere. They're not scared of ghosts. That's the kind of sandwich.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at defensive players at the combine, like the big metric is, are they scared of ghosts or not? And if they're not, they're getting
That's
drafted.
right.
Exactly. And they're gigantic too. I mean, I see nothing wrong with this.
All
right,
right,
Will.
back to me. I've got a defense, and I've got a few options that I think are good. So I guess when in doubt, I'll default to my own favorite of the bunch. Now, who's been at the top of the defensive rankings for the last 2 decades and has one of the greatest defensive coaches of all time? The New England Patriots. And what's the staple sandwich of the New England Patriots? That's right, the lobster roll.
Wow. Wow.
I know that it might be controversial, but since Nate already took a hot dog, I feel like sandwiches on hot dog buns are safe territory now. I think lobster rolls are really, you got to get it cold, number one. I think hot lobster rolls are gross.
Yep.
Cold lobster roll, a little bit of mayonnaise, some seasoning in there, a lot of just meat, and let that shine. But in the summer, there might be no more satisfying New England lunch than a nice lobster roll with some fries by the water.
That's a good sandwich, man. It's a really, really good sandwich.
Can it stop a cheesesteak barreling down the field?
I mean, it's deceptively heavy. You know, if you get butter on it or mayonnaise, it's deceptively heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it as a wide receiver, to be honest.
I had that.
Then Torta fell. It was kicker. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Does it have to be food? If I'm picking
Yeah.
You know,
make the pick and we'll decide.
all right.
You better be going somewhere with this, John.
All right. So for me, the only thing, and I mean the only thing that can stop a sandwich, that can truly stop it, is when you hate yourself for eating too much sandwich. So I feel like the only defense is self-loathing. If I didn't have that, I'd be eating a sandwich right now.
I'll allow it. It's way too real because sometimes I'll look at a big piece of bread and I'm like, oh, God, that's like huge. I would never eat all that. Maybe a slice. And I'm like, well, literally, if you cut it in half and stuffed it with meat, I would eat it like every day.
Think about like Sunday afternoon when it's like it's still light out and you're like, yeah, I will get a jumbo meatball sub. That's a bag of groceries.
this
I can take half for lunch tomorrow. You never save half.
This whole last round is all of us just trying to talk ourselves into Eddie Royal in the 15th round.
Self-loafing is a good one.
Self-loafing, yes. Good job, man.
Anthony, do you see ice cream sandwich in the chat? That's pretty good.
I do see ice cream sandwich in the chat, and I wish I
had
Oreo. I feel like I would have had that as a kicker.
Yeah, I had
Oreo. Shit,
yeah.
That's actually really funny.
Yeah.
Because I think I have a better defense than those, and I'm going to go with the sloppy Joe as my defense. Just a big fucking mess of a sandwich that's just going to cause problems.
He's married to Farley. I mean, that's all you got to think.
And I think
that,
yeah, go ahead.
Sloppy Joe is that it's not very good.
Yeah. We don't need it to be good. We need it to win ball games. And you know what?
Who's your quarterback? Let's look at
That's also why I took the McRib first, and I learned and took the Sloppy Joe last.
I mean, you got breakfast sandwiches QB. Okay, yeah, you might be able to pull this off.
Everything that you can accomplish with a Sloppy Joe could be done with a pulled pork.
Yeah.
A massively better sandwich.
A pile of barbecue.
Yeah.
Yep, a pile of barbecue of any kind, pulled pork, brisket.
I want my Sloppy Joe to just infiltrate all of your offensive sandwiches and just make them all shitty.
Fucking get sandwich on our body.
I feel like I have eaten the best Sloppy Joes ever, and they still suck, though.
And we're all in the 3rd grade, and everything was good then.
Yeah. In New Jersey, a Sloppy Joe is a totally different thing, by the way. It's a club sandwich with Russian dressing and coleslaw on it.
How does Jersey have such a huge sandwich culture?
I didn't even draft. Actually, if we're gonna talk about things in draft, I have a thought.
Well, okay, we'll get to that in a second. But one quick question I have that I've always wondered about New Jersey, and John, you're Mr. New Jersey. Why is Taylor ham not available in other parts of the country? We have the supply chains in place.
Yeah, you could get it. So you can get it at some stores. I see it at Wegmans sometimes. It breaks my heart that it's not available. I think it is a dramatically underrated processed meat. I think it's better than Spam. You could eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
It's better than bologna.
It'll make you feel terrible. And that's part of the charm. Like it's good. If breakfast sandwich didn't go round 3, I would have done Taylor ham, egg and cheese on a Kaiser in round 5. I think it was a little too close. But Taylor ham, egg and cheese on a Kaiser roll is like a working man sandwich in New Jersey, and it is just a slice of heaven.
Ketchup?
Hell yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's run through our squads. Nate, start us off.
All right. I have can you scroll it down?
Yep. Happy.
All right. Running back, I had pastrami sandwich. This is the Washington Sandwich Club. Running back is pastrami. Quarterback is club. Wide receiver is Popeye's chicken. Tight end is Thanksgiving leftover. My kicker is the hot dog. And my defense is any sandwich made by Scooby and Shaggy. I'm into it. That's a champion.
That's a solid team. That's a solid team. Honestly, That's better than I thought it was going to be.
I see. Yeah, that's why you take that club sandwich, man. You got it. at keeping all this nonsense in line.
Sir.
All right. The Order a Large, You'll Be Hungry Later, coached brilliantly by Vince Lombardi sub, has a very, very rich lineup. A cheeseburger, an all-American quarterback will be on cards and posters everywhere. You've got a Cuban sandwich, incredibly versatile running back in a Cuban. You've got a fast street food wide receiver in a banh mi. Your tight end is a big Logie chicken parm sub that can block and catch really short passes. Your kicker, old reliable PB&J, will never break down, will always make those kicks. And the only true defense against a sandwich is really, really hating yourself with some self-loathing.
All right, I'll jump in. In the vein of terrific Italian quarterbacks, I am taking an Italian sub as my quarterback. A wide receiver, a little bit of a flair with high upside. That's a Buffalo Chicken. A running back, really solid, really sturdy, no frills about it. The Euro, a tight end, a sandwich with the screw loose. This is a Chacarero. Kicker, a European with high upside, French dip, and defense in the vein of one of the greatest long-standing team defenses of the last 2 decades. Let's take the lobster roll. New England's best.
All right, and my team, Bacon, Lettuce, and Touchdowns, coached by the Sandwich High School football coach, Matt McLean, who I'll tag later. Running back is the steak and cheese sub. Running back is the steak and cheese stub. Tight end, a meatball stub. Breakfast sandwich at the helm. The torta asada is a wide receiver. A $5 footlong is my kicker. And infiltrating all y'all's offenses with its gross-ass contents is the Sloppy Joe.
I feel like any comedy show that results in a high school football coach getting blown up on Twitter is the kind of comedy show that I want to be involved with.
God, I really hope he has a findable Twitter account. All right, so I'll be putting these together into an image, and I'll post them. I'll post a poll on Twitter, and then everyone in the audience can vote on who you thought had the best sandwich team of the draft.
All right. Now we have a few minutes. Do any of you guys have maybe one sandwich that you wish had been drafted or had been on your team but couldn't find a place?
I didn't have room for a tuna melt.
That was my backup defense.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get an egg salad in there. I love them, and I know they're hated, but I fucking love those sandwiches. It was going to be my defense, but I like the Scooby one better.
Sometimes you need a polarizing player to make the headlines, you know?
Anthony.
It was very hard for me not to select the grilled cheese at every option in this draft.
I thought about him for kicker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And personally, for me, tough call to not make sliders my defense.
Also, it's defense, yeah.
And I'll just note quickly for people at home that the Sandwich football team went 4-9 last year. So good luck with that. All right, thank you so much to Nate and John for joining us. A very fun draft. Look out for the poll and be sure to vote on your favorite team, which will surely be Jersey Mike Ditka's. But
I don't know about that.
Any last words, guys?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. This is fun.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Stay tuned afterwards for Interesting Points at 9, hosted by Josh Poirier on 2MB Studios. Be sure to follow and subscribe. Will, anything?
Beef of Wellington has been complaining this whole show, saying that a Reuben wasn't taken. The Reuben was off the board because a pastrami on rye was taken earlier, which is basically the same sandwich.
I agree. I knocked it off.
Yeah. I mean, a racer was on my board, but, you know.
And also, in the chat, Helena Linda 989 says that if you want to become famous and buy followers, go to bigfollows.com. So if that helps any of you out there in the chat, be sure to follow. This has been Boy Detectives, the Sandwich Draft. Look for us on Twitter. Follow 2MB Studios, and I wish we had a catchphrase.
today. We alternate days. Today's her day in the office, so it's my day to find an alternate spot. Today, it's the kitchen. Welcome. Yeah, the shirt. I like to stick with my usual routine as much as possible to keep things as sane as they can be during these crazy times. So I get dressed up like I'm going into the office. I feel like it really gets me started and kicks me right into work mode. We're really in a good spot, thankfully. And if there are no more questions, I'd like to give everybody 2 minutes back in your day. And if I don't talk to you, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. TGIF, am I right? Yeah. Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Look at this soul, still searching for salvation. I don't know much. I know I love you. Turn, Laura, 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 turn.
I'm Professor Radisson. This is Sandwiches 150. I would like to bypass senseless debate altogether and jump to the conclusion meatball subs are bad. All I require from you is to fill in the paper I've just given you with 3 little words. Meatball sub is dead. Mr. Wheaton, is something wrong?
I can't do what you want. I enjoy meatball subs.
If you cannot bring yourself to admit the meatball sub is dead, you'll have to defend the antithesis.
I think meatball subs are delicious.
You do?
So saucy and meaty.
Your acceptance of this challenge may be the only meaningful exposure to meatball subs they'll ever have.
To me, meatball subs are not dead, and I don't want anyone not eating them because some professor says they shouldn't.
Mr. Wheaton, are you ready?
We're going to put meatball subs on trial.
You think you're smarter than me, Wheaton? In that classroom, there is a meatball sub. It's me.
This experiment is over. You have to decide me or meatball sub.
I feel like this is something that God wants me to do. I can't just turn away from it.
You just want to ensnare them in your primitive sandwich option.
What I want is for them to make their own choice.
You have no idea how much I'm going to enjoy failing you.
Who are you really looking to fail? Me? Or meatball subs?
Meatball subs, they're alive, they're not dead. You can buy them at pizza stores or sandwich shops.
You sprinkle Parmesan cheese on the meatballs to make them tastier. Why do you hate them? Why do you hate meatball subs?
So every time I start the show, Matt, it seems that Matt plays that meatball sub sketch. Matt, producer, I just really want a meatball sub. I mean, look at me. Anyways, how you doing? It's Josh from. My name is Josh, and it's Interesting Points. It's a show that I came up with about 7 years ago, kind of based on British panel shows. We're just going to talk to some interesting people and have a good time. Tonight's topic is interesting jobs or unusual jobs, and the stories that go with them. So I'd love to introduce our panel. How you doing, Jake?
Hi, I'm good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, you doing, Jonathan?
Hi. Nice to meet you.
How's it going? Nice to meet you.
Jake.
Lynn, how you doing?
Hi. I'm good.
Nice to
I'm
meet you.
not alone.
And Zach, how are you?
Hi, great. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. All right, everybody. So we're talking about interesting jobs, unusual jobs today. So I'm just going to go around and kind of get an idea of what everybody's job that is unusual is. I've never actually had a truly unusual job. I knocked doors to sell cable for a while. So it wasn't really unusual. There were some unusual things that happened. Like I knocked a door with a woman, and she looked at me directly through the door. We locked eyes, and I was like, "Hey, I'm here with RCN." And then she went back in the house and turned off all the lights, like I didn't see her. And the battles I had with Jehovah's Witnesses were amazing. So I'm just gonna go around real quick and just kind of get an idea of what the job is. So Jake, what job do you have?
So I'm a wetland scientist.
Wow.
I'm find and map swamps and wetlands for our clients. Right now I'm currently in between firms, but we kind of we handle all of the environmental work for various projects, mostly like solar renewable, but it's a lot of hiking around and basically trying to find areas that meet the parameters for a swamp or a stream or a marsh or a wetland. So
you look for swamps.
Yeah. Well, wetlands, they're important. They're protected through state and federal laws. So we follow the parameters given and to find and map these resources. Like the lofty way I would put it would be we're trying to map and save renewable resources or natural resources for renewable projects, but there's a lot else to it. We're kind of like biologists, odd job stuff too, whatever they need to get done, whether it be like bird surveys or looking for frog eggs.
Nice.
A lot of interesting stuff.
Cool. We'll get into that a little bit in a little bit. Jonathan, what about you?
So I have a sort of weird day job. I teach behavioral health to medical professionals, and we all work at a health insurance company that is trying to give special help to the poor and the disabled. So that seems nice and normal-ish.
Yeah.
But
I'm expecting a butt.
But on the side, for fun, and I do get paid, so I guess it's technically a job, I write for a video game magazine that's sort of like a remake of Nintendo Power.
Oh, wow.
And no one expects me to do this when I say, like, oh, I'm helping the poor, and I'm also thinking about Nintendo all the time, writing about it. And I'm also on several podcasts, one of which a person just talks about we just recorded an episode earlier. What he was saying that he wanted me to become the new spirit of good sleep paralysis, where I make people enjoy being unable to move somehow, like a night terror. And I'm like, people are going to hate this idea. I'm like, no, they're going to love it. Because I was on a reality show 23 years ago called Road Rules, and I was famous for like 6 months. And he's so excited to make me famous again that he's constantly coming up with like literally the worst ideas. A lot of them have to do with like scraping my skin and selling the scrapings to celebrity children and all sorts of stuff. It's called Boston's Favorite Son is the name of that show. And
wow.
It's this unusual thing. And if my day job finds out about my various night jobs, I'll really have some talking to do.
Interesting. We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
I'm glad you're not disappointed. I was worried I wasn't interesting enough. But
Not at all. That's amazing. Lynn, what about you?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on here. It's hard to say what's my day job and night job, especially now, because it's all sort of my all the time in the bathroom and in the middle of the night job. But the weirdest thing that I do is I talk to tribologists. And I find out what they're researching, and then I write about it as though I know anything about it, and I have no degree even remotely related at all to this art.
What do you think tribology? What is tribology?
What is
tribology? TRIBOLOGY. And I will admit that before I got this job, I didn't know what that is. I had never heard of that before. So tribos is the Greek root for friction, is the hint. And tribology is the study of lube engineering. So I have to say, unfortunately, it's not the fun kind of lube, although we can't tell you what to do with it. That's your business. But the reason that there is a tribology magazine and there's a tribology trade association and they have all their own things within the engineering world is that tribology is also super important to cars, and there's a lot of money in cars. So there's all this weird funding for this super specific kind of technical writing that it turns out I'm really into, even though I could not possibly give less of a shit about cars. So that's, and that turns out to be like my biggest writing gig, even though I fancy myself a tech reporter and a sci-fi writer, but really what pays the big bucks is lube. Gotta love lube, yeah.
I love someone who both loves and hates parts of their job. I love and doesn't care about parts of their job.
It's ridiculous that it exists, but I'm glad I get to do it.
So, Zach, what about you?
So I seem to be the only one that showed up in uniform today. I work at a gas station. That's kind of it. I've pumped gas. I've filled lube in vehicles before. I've filled washer fluid from time to time. I've mopped the floors. I worked the till, and I've filled Kool-Aid. We have Slurpees that are Kool-Aid, and so I filled those a couple times.
You know, it's probably I bet you're gonna have the best stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there for about 3 years.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I'll tell you a quick little story of what happened to me at a gas station, and just because it came about when I was smoking a lot of weed at the time when I was 23 years old. I'm 45 now, so that was a while ago. That was back when you were on road rules. We ended up smoking so much that I actually went blind. Like I couldn't see anymore.
What? Wow.
And I told a friend of mine who I was driving with, I was like, dude, I got to pull over. I got to go. I got to stop. I got to stop driving. And so we pulled over. I was driving. Yes. So we pulled over to a gas station, and I was like, get out and pump gas, make it look good. So he gets out, he starts pumping gas. And when I got really high, I used to focus on one thing, remember that one thing, and then come back to it. And for me, luckily, it was the clock this time. So I looked at the clock, it was like 10:42, and then I went off my own little thought world, and I came back to the clock, it was 11:35. He's still pumping gas.
It doesn't take that long.
Well, it clicked, he just never moved. So I was like, go pay for the gas and let's get out of here. And he went up to the gas station attendant and he was like, oh, yeah, I bet you think we're pretty fucked up. And the guy goes, yeah, we do. Pay for you $2 worth of gas and get the hell out of here. So that was probably one of your stories, Zach.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've had a couple of people, like, honestly, I'm thinking back to like the Rolodex of stories I have. And there was one time we had this lady that she was walking from, so the way that my gas station is situated, it's like in the center of a big kind of strip mall. So there's like Best Buy, and I live in Canada, so there's a Canadian Tire and stuff like that around me. And then there's a Burger King like straight across from our car wash. So we had this one lady like exit out the Burger King one day, and she was drinking a milkshake, and she just started screaming, and she threw the milkshake on the ground and ran behind our garbage dumpster. And we were all like, that's a little concerning. Like, I hope she's okay. I don't know where she went. And like about an hour later, maybe 2 hours later, she comes in and she's like, "Do you guys have any flyers? Like, I just need some flyers." And we're like, "Yeah, like we've got our company's flyers in the corner over there. Go right ahead." So she grabbed them and left. And then 20 or so minutes later, "Do you guys have matches?" "Yeah, we have matches. Here's a box. Go right ahead." And then after that, one of my coworkers is like, "Do you want to check on her? We work at a gas station." And I was like, "Yeah, I will." So I like went the perimeter around the building, like around our propane and all that, and like looked for her, and she wasn't there. I was like, "Okay, I guess she's just gone now. That's cool." And then another hour later, this is like 4 hours now since we've seen her. I go to throw some garbage out, and my coworker who was with me earlier like comes back, and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you dumpster diving?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just like trying to throw the garbage out because I'm like fucking 5'2" and I'm really short and can't throw things away." And then the lady just comes straight out from behind the garbage and stares at us, and she says, "I wasn't doing anything." And then she just walks away a different direction. And we're like, "Oh, there she is." We found her. So I go by the garbage and I see like all the flyers like piled up in a pile, and it's like kind of half on fire, and there's a whole bunch of like stripped out matches on the ground. So I like stamp it out, and that was the last we saw of her.
That's insane.
Literally.
This is an adult too?
Yeah, this is an
Like-
adult woman. She's probably, I would say,
13-year-olds do that. That's okay.
13-year-old.
That.
No,
Yeah.
she had to have been like, I wouldn't say older than 25.
Talk about some
So,
great parting words and make yourself seem as innocent as possible. I didn't do
I didn't do
anything.
anything.
Whatever you're thinking, I didn't do anything.
Like massive wide eyes
Shit.
too.
I've said that so many times when I've done something.
You were taught by your parents. I didn't do anything. Trust me.
My 4-year-old says that to me. And that's when we know she's done something. I mean, she's never lit a fire behind a dumpster before, but
That you know of.
So, Jake, why don't you tell us? Why don't you drop a little story if you got one?
Oh, I'm trying to think of any of this like specifics. Like, I guess like one big long story is like how I got started. Is I went to school for a conservation biology degree and learned that I really loved to ID plants. Eventually found this profession, and then they were like, "You want to go to, I found them in a career fair, the firm I used to work for, and they're like, "Do you like to travel?" "Yeah, I could travel." "Well, we hire biologists." "Okay." I think within like a month, they had me on a plane to Atlanta to go. They were just like, "Yeah, go down there. We got a project down there. You'll figure it out." You might be down there for like a month, maybe 2. I ended up being down there for 9 months on a natural gas pipeline as a biologist, my first job out of college. So I'm this upstate New York biologist wanting to save plants and animals and be in nature. And now I'm here on a pipeline. And so that was an interesting experience being in the deep south for like 9 months. And one of the most memorable times was there's these endangered tortoises in Florida. If you've heard of them, they're called gopher tortoises, and they dig very, very deep holes in the ground. And it turns out there's like a whole kind of like group or profession of tortoise finder and digger, where you can be a full-time tortoise man in Florida or woman or any. They would basically, you get a certification to say you can dig tortoises, and that's your job, is to go find and dig tortoises, because it's all permitted through Florida state. And you need like machines, like excavators, and they dig down about 15 feet deep. And it can be like a 2-hour process to dig this tortoise. Females are about that big. And they're just really neat creatures because they've evolved to dig deep, deep holes. And one of the reasons they're protected is because there's all these other organisms, from snakes and frogs and such, that are also either threatened or endangered or protected, that live in the holes, and nothing else digs the holes. So when the pipeline was sited to go through Florida, they had to have a massive effort of digging hundreds of tortoises out of the ground to make sure they're safe. So I spent a month in Florida in the sand trying to find burrows and helping dig tortoises out.
A month.
Wow.
It was interesting. It was an endeavor, really. It was. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's incredible. Like I can just see someone, going that. Well, I'm gonna do something great with my life. I'm gonna do something amazing. I'm gonna help the world, and now I'm digging tortoises out of holes.
No, the tortoises was the highlight of the pipeline for sure. I was like, everything else pretty much sucked, but the tortoises were the most fun.
Yeah, I can see that. It's just the whole idea of a tortoise digger.
Yeah, some of these people, that was their full-time job. They did other side jobs, but that was they were their tortoise people. Or as it got to be called, like, you didn't correct people when they were like, how many turtles are you digging today? Or what turtles are you doing? Because
you got the turtle quota.
All of us scientists, and we're working with these like roughneck pipeliners and rednecks, and it's kind of like a pretty big dichotomy of cultures. So you had to learn your people skills, how to interact with them to a degree.
Sort of like the premise for a 90s environmental movie.
Yeah, of some sorts, trying to save.
And then the tortoises get hit with the oil and they grow gigantically.
Yeah,
they become a cartoon.
And they slowly march on the city.
Ironically, we probably made that. Well, that project probably made tortoise habitat. I mean, I'm not going to speak on it too much about like should it happen at all. Like screw oil and gas. And it's terrible and all of that, but like, yeah, I think ironically, like we increased the amount of habitat because it had like the right of way has to be maintained in a kind of a brushy shrubby area, and that turns out that's the perfect tortoise habitat.
Oh. So there was a question: how many tortoises did you find?
I think I had recorded 20 myself. I think our team had about like between 40 and 50. I think the whole project was about 2,000 somewhere. I don't know the exact numbers, tons. Their numbers are actually pretty healthy, thankfully, for an endangered species or threatened species.
Cool. I mean, yeah, very cool. I was going to actually ask, what's funny is when you were telling the story about tortoise diggers, I was going to yell at Rachel to get me a tortoise digger, but it turns out you're one of them. So I'm glad you're on the show.
Well, I like to say I'm certified. I am a Florida Fish and Wildlife certified gopher tortoise survey agent. I can't do anything else. Agent.
Why is agent part of that?
That's what they just call them. That's what you become, a tortoise agent.
You should when you meet people, you should say, "Guess what kind of agent I am?" I'm an agent. Yes. No.
Would you prefer tortoise contractor?
Essentially,
tortoise freelancer.
It's essentially the Rumpelstiltskin of jobs. Nobody's
Maybe
guessing that
tortoise
job.
consultant, really.
Tortoise consultant.
Well, I always have a hard time telling people like what I do, because I'm in like at its state's environmental consultant and consulting in the private environmental consulting world, which I could go off on the ins and outs of that.
Keep quiet about gas.
Oh yeah, I could lose the job.
Yeah,
keeps me in work.
That's the thing, is you can be like, a lot of people get into the environmental field and they want to do good, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're going to be stuck on a pipeline doing, helping this pipeline get built. Yeah. And you don't always you can be like, well, no, I'm going to make a hard stand against that, or you'd be like, justify it by saying like, well, if I'm not going to do it, then maybe some other hack will come by and not be monitoring and not be putting out the effort needed. Thankfully, like the vast bulk of our work has been solar. So you feel a little better with that on your conscience, for sure.
Until the sun explodes.
Or until the developers want to build on anything, and it's like, you guys are supposed to be on the good side. Don't destroy that wetland. Yeah.
Wow. All right, Lynn, let's hear a story from you.
Yeah, I was trying to think of some. It's extremely chill most of the time, writing about tribology, because these engineers are just super excited that anybody cares, and even though it's my job to ask questions. Yeah, they're like, wow, you heard of my special interest, their special thing.
Nobody thinks I'm a Star Trek thing again.
Yeah, so really appreciative that I have to interview. I get to interview a lot of different, like, people who have really narrow expertise in my many different forms of writing. But tribologists always respond right away, which is a huge problem for reporters. And they are always so psyched to talk about lube and talk about oil and talk about like emulsions. So that they've never really given me any trouble. But I have had really fun experiences with like I'm just reflecting on what Jake is saying about, jobs where you're like, okay, I'm kind of part of the evil machine right now, but at least it's me who's part of it. And you like trust yourself and you want to believe in yourself. But yeah, I've had a lot of technical writing jobs, or almost had those jobs that got that feeling out of me. And the one I'm thinking of is the most blatant, so I used to do, I would on a freelance basis edit people's, did I freeze? Can you guys still see me?
Good.
Oh, okay. I edited people's application essays to engineering grad school, which is a ridiculous, so these would be people for whom English wasn't the first language, and usually they're applying from outside the US. And so they wanted to study engineering in the US, but they had to write essays about like what it meant to them in English first. And it was such bullshit. So it felt really easy to be like, okay, obviously if this is what's going to get you into this school, like I'll help and you're paying me. And like, I have no qualms about that. And that's great. But the person who was hooking me up with these people was kind of like paying me under the table. And it was like, he's clearly like feeling out what my skills are. And then eventually my pay started getting higher and higher. And what I was doing got closer and closer to just completely writing the whole application for people. And then I realized what kind of business it was. And I at that point, I really did think about it. I thought like, this could like sustain, like I could write a novel. I could finally do it. But, and I was kind of telling myself like, well, no one should have to write these essays, but there was really no way to talk myself into doing it. But it was really interesting that I've had this strange series of events happen in my life that brought me to technical writing. And there are certain people for whom like having a good technical writer or someone with technical writing skills on their team is the difference between like them and this like really urgent thing that they need, like this thing to this sign of success. And so like you could kind of come in and help them with that, and then suddenly realize that their success is super evil.
Oh, your mic cut out. Yeah.
No, sorry.
Your mic is under.
I didn't say specifically, but I've been asked to do.
I feel like you censored. I feel like you just censored yourself.
I was like, there's a red dot somewhere. Yeah. Too much. No, I was being vague because I like couldn't think of any details. I'm not like deliberately obscuring.
Did you write for Skynet?
No, thank God. I think the evilest company I ever worked for was like really early. So I was writing curriculum for a tutoring company, and it was right out of college. And so it was really hard for me to see how evil it was. But they basically just like played on rich Boston area parents' insecurities about their kids' futures and just milked them for cash and sold them this absolute bullshit version of like neurology / like kind of a like early stages MLM. Like it was just, but it like everybody, the whole leadership team had like PhDs, and mostly they were affiliated with Ivy League schools, and they had just everything that these parents were desperate to have. But these poor kids were like under so much pressure. Obviously, they're very privileged kids. Anyway, that was, I think, actually the evilest thing, because it was the most manipulative of like insecurities and inequalities, and it was super manipulative of us. Like I was paid like a pittance, and like the most made up nonsense healthcare plan to do this horrible, horrible work that no one should have been doing, and these kids should have just been outside or taking a nap. But yeah, I got out of that pretty fast.
Kids don't appreciate how much they get to nap.
No, they really don't, and they should be napping all the time.
Yeah.
They come up with their best ideas napping.
I do, and I get in trouble at work. No, I'm just thinking about it. Like, so tribology is kind of the tribologists are kind of a happy thing for you.
Yeah, it's
So-
easy. They're very cooperative.
I'm guessing tribologists know how to party too. There's that much-
You would think. I mean, this job has been remote the whole time I've had it. This is now my second year, this contract with this company. So I've never met any of these people, but I do like to imagine their lives. They're all like so the other people who work on the magazine part are just like super isolated, like in different parts of Illinois. They don't live in the same city, but they've been working together for decades, and they're just like, we just know a lot about lube, and that's our lives, and we have no one to talk to about it, and our whole days are lube, but we didn't study it, and we're not chemists, but we think about lube all the time. That's life for them.
I think I've heard the word lube more in this than I've ever heard any porn.
Don't worry, it's gonna come back. Do they talk about? It's not hot to talk about lube. Did you get the lube?
I don't know.
What brand?
It's not awful.
What's the viscosity of the lube?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not
What's
as
the
bad
flow
as,
point?
It's not as bad as moist. I mean, that word just.
Yeah.
Oh, you're anti-moist too.
I am. Yeah.
Is anybody pro moist? Is anybody like? I love that.
I've got an
The
argument.
Good word.
The only thing I'm pro moist for is a brownie. Like a brownie can be moist.
Yeah. That's
Anything
not.
else?
There's only two groups. It's pro moist and neutral moist.
Yeah, there's no.
People.
Oh, so there's no anti-moist?
There's no there's you know what? You're right. No, there is anti-moist and then neutral moist.
Yeah.
There's no real pro moist.
Oh, right. You flipped it.
Other way
There's
around.
No promo. That's absolutely right.
So, Jonathan, what are we doing? What about you?
Oh, geez, I'm just, I have a degree in social work, so I just love absorbing all these stories and drawing parallels, thinking about how Lynn is just embedded with nerds. She didn't put it that way. She was much nicer about it, but she's like, these people are obsessed with stuff that no one cares about, and that's basically what a nerd is. And that's where I'm at a lot of the time, so I can really relate with her having to. But with me, it's video game nerds who it's changed a lot, because back when I was growing up, and I think Josh could probably remember this too, if you admitted out loud that you liked video games, like that was over. Like nobody wanted to hang out with you. Nobody wanted to talk to you. But now there's streamers who are getting paid $4 million a year just to talk about video games and stuff. The whole culture has really changed on that. But I am now 43, so it's a little too late for me to be like the teen bop version of video game streamer. I've got no hair, and I was on a reality show 20 years ago that nobody remembers now. So it's interesting to be where I'm at with it now. I'm sorry, what was that, Josh?
I remember it.
You remember that show?
Yeah,
I had like hidden play hair then.
Yeah,
So
I remember you.
Oh, you do? That's funny.
Can I
mixed
ask John,
feelings about
what
that.
year was that? I'm trying to figure out whether I
dude.
would have seen that.
Yeah. It's hard for me to remember sometimes. I think it was
That's
1998. It was the fifth season of it.
It was 1998, as someone
Was it
who knows.
98? Yeah, I mean, it was a lifetime ago, literally. I was 20 at the time. I'm 43 now, so it's more than half my age ago. And hearing Jake talk about digging up turtles, I kept thinking about two things. How, one, the creator of Mario Brothers was obsessed with pipes and turtles and stuff like that. And how him doing a job like you were just wandering around the Japanese countryside where there were all these leftover pipes. That's where the pipes from Mario came from. And seeing like wildlife embedded in them is how he ended up creating all the stuff he did. So you meditating on your work, you might end up making the next big video game.
It would have made Miyamoto need a tribologist.
It can happen to anybody. I'm telling you. You have to watch out.
And how both Lynn and Jake and Zach, I suppose, you get paid because someone with more money than you has decided to use you somehow. I mean, I guess that's just capitalism in general.
That's
right?
capitalism, yeah.
We did it.
But you're right. We do also live under capitalism.
We figured it out.
I did figure that out.
Yeah.
And to me, it's always so interesting how you can have folks with noble pursuits who can only do work and get paid for it if they find that loophole where the person with money is using you for them. Like for Jake, it was they wanted gas, but in order to get the gas, they needed to help turtles. I work for a health insurance company during the day. They really want health insurance money, but if I help people stay out of the hospital by helping them with their behavioral health issues and their medical issues, then they save money. So they really, the core of it is a money saving strategy, but along the way, people happened to get helped. And some of the jobs you're talking about, Lynn, you felt like there was a bait and switch. It's like, you're going to help these kids. But then it was like, you're going to get paid nothing to lie about who these kids are so they can get into the system that's elitist and classist and awful. And yeah, so I was just having fun drawing those parallels as well.
It's a good
I'm more
reason.
interested in all of you than I am in myself.
Well, now talk about yourself a little bit.
Oh, all right. I can try.
You tricked him.
So we can draw parallels to you.
yeah, you're right. I should try to do that. I mean, a story I love talking about, which is similar to the train we were just on, is when I met the creator of Tetris. Like, I've gotten to meet all these video game creators who don't think like anything of themselves. They don't go to stores and everyone's like, oh my God, Alexei Petrikov. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but they don't get recognized. They don't feel like celebrities, even though they've like changed everybody's life. So I was talking to him, and just really humble guy. I don't know if you know his story. He was just a computer scientist in Russia. They were working on, I think, like AI, but this was in the 80s, so it wasn't going to go anywhere. And he was just really bored. So as a side project, he created Tetris, based on old Russian folklore game where you piece pieces together. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And he put it on floppy disks and just handed it around. It was communist Russia, so there was no potential for profit. So his whole culture wasn't tuned to capitalism, as we're talking about. So when he finally found out he was rich, it was a real shock to him, and he never really fully embraced the rich guy culture. When I met him, he smelled a little moldy, honestly, but it was like endearing, because I was worried he was going to like smell better than me and I was going to be intimidated. He smelled a little bit like an addict, and he's wearing like an old broken up leather coat. He's like, I don't even know why I'm here. And they took it like 30 years ago. What? Super nice guy. But someone who wanted that interview, who wanted the big Tetris guy interview, like came at me and like shoved me and was like, that's my interview, that's my guy, like just violently capitalistically wanting to cash in on the Tetris guy. Well, I just wanted to like have a nice conversation with him. And we both got the interview, but my interview got more views, so then I got all competitive and proud of myself.
You get more views because you didn't terrify the guy.
That's right. There was a lot of absolute. The video game journalist culture is super duper weird. I'm not as into it now as I was. I just write for the magazine, do a few podcasts on the side, but basically the big money companies. And this is, again, in lines with everything we're talking about, they want the legitimacy that comes from the streamers and the bloggers and all these people that are supposedly of the people, not corporate. They want us to like their games. So when we talk about their games, it has more credibility. When we say they're great games, it's not just a corporate shill or marketing saying it. It's like someone just like you or your friends. But they make sure to make it not like that as much as they can. They like throw celebrities at us. They gave me a 2-day tour of Disney World. I went into like Walt Disney's hidden cabin where he had this really weird grilled cheese press. And according to the lore, it was just like, he would just eat here and eat nothing but grilled cheeses for 2 days and stare at people.
He couldn't even get a normal grilled cheese press.
No, he
That'd be a
couldn't
weird
do
one.
anything normally.
His brain is stored in that grilled cheese
Yeah, I was
press.
gonna say, I've heard it.
The press is shaped like Walt Disney's head.
Yeah,
So,
it was.
was this supposed to influence your opinion of a video game?
Yeah, and then I gave it a relatively low score anyway. It was this game called Epic Mickey, which was good in concept.
Sounds stupid.
Remember that one?
I do.
Yeah, it was so like 2-day kissing my ass. They had me stay at Disneyland for free, which I'll tell you is one of the loneliest experiences in your life. Being a poor video game blogger, getting to stay at Disneyland for free by yourself, $25 meal ticket. And I don't know if you've been to Disneyland, but like all I could buy was sauteed mushrooms and broccoli. So, money. Video game blogging doesn't pay like at all, but just alone eating my sautéed mushrooms, families like throwing French fries at each other and flipping burgers in the air. They're just bathing in food and money. They're so happy. Me alone, weird guy eating his broccoli. Yeah, it's quite a ride.
I think you look up loneliness in the dictionary, and that's the picture that's
That's
next to
what I said. Yeah.
One guy at Disney World surrounded.
Did
They
you
really
get any
didn't think
photos
that
with
through.
the mascots?
What's that?
Did you get any photos with the mascots?
No, that was this was 10 years ago. So I had like a flip phone and it did not have a good camera in it. And I didn't want to be that guy. Like I just came to Disneyland alone. You know how it is. Wondering if I could just pose with you goofy for a little bit. Like what guy? It was all families and like young people having fun.
You could have twisted it though. You could have been the guy running right at him. Goofy.
Yeah,
that was me. So I love the definition of loneliness. Just you sitting there eating sautéed mushrooms while people throwing fries everywhere.
I've told this story a bunch of times, Josh. You're the first one who ever got it. Everyone else was like, you were at Disneyland. You could have just ridden the rides. I'm like, yeah, no. And you see everyone else having like these incredible, intense family connections. And and there's just something not savory about a lone man.
Yeah.
But were the mushrooms savory?
They were not that.
So I mean, yeah, all I'm picturing too is you alone on the Dumbo ride going around in a circle.
Yeah, there was plenty of that. I was like, I guess I'll go on the rides. Literally, what else do you do? So just getting splashed in Splash Mountain alone. And,
the stone cold face.
This is literally the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Thanks. Yeah. I feel
It's amazing. I love it. So Zach, one more story from you. Let's get another story from you.
Okay. There's so many. There's so that's the problem is there's not enough time to fit all the winners in. But okay, yeah, there was actually a period of time, it was like 7 or 8 months that we were actually on a labor strike. My gas station's unionized, so we were, walking the picket line and all that. And one day I got a text from my picket captain, like a couple of days into the strike. I obviously went around my location and she sends me a photo of my gas station with the doors completely blasted out, glass everywhere. And she's like, "Oh, no need to picket today." I'm like, "Why? What happened? What happened to my work?" And she's like, "Oh, someone stole the ATM." I'm like, "What? What?" And then like
solidarity.
Yeah. They did it. And they also robbed like the Sobeys like grocery store like up the street too of the same ATM that they also ripped out their doors.
So Zach, how hard was it to break into the ATM?
Well, they didn't have too much money in it. That's the most unfortunate part. It was only like $200. No, but the best part is I didn't even realize this was on April 1st that this happened. And when the strike ended and I came back to work, my manager was like, "Yeah, so like we called like, the head office to be like, hey, we got broken into, like they stole our ATM, our walls destroyed." And they were like, "Nah." They hung up. We called them back like, "Yeah, no, like I'm serious. Like the wall's broken in, there's glass everywhere. I got a call at like 4 a.m. that this happened. Like seriously." And they're like, "No." He called them like 5 times, and eventually he just like took a photo of the blasted out doors and was like, "Seriously, like we got robbed. They stole a bunch of food. Like I'm not lying. Like we got robbed." And then they were like, "Oh, okay." And then for about 8 months after we had been robbed, we had just like a plywood door on the outside of the wall, and just like a crappy like kind of like the kind of doorknob you'd have in your house, and like a metal or a wooden door with just like a little lock knob. And what would happen all the time is customers are like, some of our joking pump attendants would like lock the lock from the inside, and people would be banging on the door to be let in. It's so funny. And then people for months were like, "Whoa, what happened to the wall?" And we were like, "Oh, like our ATM got stolen." They're like, "What? That's crazy. That's insane. Whoa, really?" And we were like, "Yeah, okay." And I like had gotten to the point where I was telling the story like probably 4 times a day. It was just like, "Yeah, okay,
Just make
ATM. Oh,
it up then.
crazy, right? Yeah, all right." And then they did this. And
So-
then one more thing.
No good.
The same night that happened, like 2 hours prior, one of our gas attendants broke into the oh no, sorry, it was after that happened. They had to throw out all the product because of like glass potentially getting into the food and that kind of thing. And one of our pump attendants broke into the dumpster and stole like a bunch of the food. And they were like looking on the camera, they're like, "That's weird, like the amount of food that we threw out is like significantly smaller. Let's like look up the footage." And they saw one of the guys like just jumping in there and grabbing all the food. And he was a younger dude, like he lived at his parents' house. He had no reason to be doing that, like absolutely none. And he was just like hoarding it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, his mom was behind it.
Absolutely.
To cook it.
She stole the ATM just so they could steal the food. All the gas station sandwiches and the Doritos.
So
Yeah, it was worth
I hate to belabor. You've told the story so many times, but they dug through the wall.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
No one
So,
would call, like
more than
around?
half of our wall is like tempered glass, and then the rest is like a metal frame. So what they did was they pulled a big truck up, like heavy truck, and they took like a crowbar, bashed the bottom of the door in, went through the door, and within like 20 seconds wrapped a chain around the ATM, got in the truck, and ripped the ATM out the front door. I completely forgot to explain how they did it, but
It sounds like they've done that before.
yeah, they were in and
That's
out
like
in a minute.
They
An
watched the Dukes of
operation.
Hazzard movie. They watched the Dukes of Hazzard movie. That's how they did it in Dukes of Hazzard.
Is that really? Are you telling me Dukes of Hazzard taught people how to?
And they were good at it too. Stolen vehicle, stolen plates. They found the truck and they found no prints. They didn't find the ATM. Like professionals.
That's amazing.
For like again $200 because they don't put much in ATMs. I don't know if you know that.
Didn't know that. Huh, interesting.
Duke boys got themselves in a whole heap of trouble up in Canada.
They drove all the way up here just to steal an ATM.
So Jake, I'm gonna go back to you. You got any more unusual stories?
It's just a few other. I don't know. There's a lot of stories that come out when you're like surveying on people's land. I don't have any of the cool ones, like having guns pulled on me or finding dead bodies.
The cool ones.
Yeah, none of that happened. I have like several colleagues though who have had like guns pulled on them because they're on someone's yard or land and they didn't know, they didn't alert the landowners and this. So there's always like crazy shit with that. One of my favorite things to do is look for salamander eggs. That's one of the most fun things, really. You basically hike around and look for little isolated ponds in the early spring and just check if they have salamander and frog eggs in them. Because then that would potentially make it a vernal pool and a protected, depending on where you are, ecosystem. And where I'm in New York, they don't have regulations for it, but other Northeast states do. And it's really a fun job of just like walking around and like looking into little puddles and ponds and being like, oh, there's little frog eggs there. There's salamander eggs. And they're like little gelatinous masses. But if you ever get the chance to be I don't know where around the country it's best, but salamanders and frogs and all sorts of amphibians have a spring migration where they emerge out of the ground to their breeding pools. And often these breeding pools are kind of like isolated little depressions. That's why they're protected, because they often get overlooked. And there's some really cool events if you can time it right. You can go outside and see hundreds, if not thousands, of salamanders, like pretty big, large mole salamanders and all sorts of other salamanders and frogs just crawling all across the ground.
Wow, that sounds horrifying.
It can be horrible. It's
cool.
I tell people I like
too.
to go out in the spring in the middle of the night in the rain and watch amphibians have sex. And
That
It's
sounds
not for
amazing.
everyone,
See, that's your tagline right there.
right?
A job for the bold.
Actually, interesting point here. I know I'm naming the show. Speaking of frogs, I know. I name dropped the show. It's amazing. I feel like I should. But interesting point is that do you know that there's only one frog in the world that ribbits? And do you know where it is? Do you know where it's located? Hollywood. The frogs around Hollywood ribbit.
What?
So that's why because of all the filming that was done in Hollywood.
Make a ribbit sound.
That's
Oh
the
my
only frog
God.
that make a ribbit sound, and because we filmed them and around Hollywood, that's why we got frogs that ribbit.
Wow.
They just like mimicked it. Oh my God.
Yep.
That's incredible.
So that's just an interesting point for me.
Yeah.
So Lynn,
Yeah,
what about you? What's the most unusual thing you've written?
Wait, I would love to hear a frog sound. Jake, what the frogs actually sound like? What can you give us a little sample?
I cannot imitate
impression?
it.
Yeah, someone give us a frog impression. They croak.
I can
They
ID them by the
croak.
sound. Yeah, very.
Really?
They go like juggo rum. Yeah, they're different calls. Sometimes there's species that are like almost identical and only defined by like their call.
Wow.
I
So
can't.
they would like come up to each other and be like, "Juggerah," and the other one would be like,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
close. That jugger up, like that jugger up, like that's how like
Yeah.
kind of like phonetically say the bullfrog. I believe.
That's how entire groups of frogs get wiped out. They said the wrong word they said the wrong sound in the wrong area.
No, don't say that.
It's like the Bloods and the Crips with the Toads and the Frogs.
Us, that's a slur, so don't say that.
Snoop
You're in the wrong town.
So Lynn, what's the most unusual thing you've written?
So lately I've been I'm trying to think of if there's any way that this story could turn out to be funny. I don't think so, but I'm already kind of saying it, so I'm just gonna keep talking now.
No, it's gonna be funny.
Well, I'll find a way. I've been writing about police technology lately. I did 2 different stories about different. So unfortunately, this is a theme, but the theme in a dark sense, like if it was written in like an Amazon TV show, like you could see it being kind of funny. And the theme is the only reason that police have any particular weapon in the US, especially like super well-funded big city police forces, is because someone wanted to make that sale. That's the limit on it, is how many can we produce and how many can we sell? Because the people who explain how the technology works and the people who describe how safe it is to the agencies are the people that make that technology. So they just lie and they leave stuff out all the time and then they just sell it. So it turns out I'm just realizing that what I'm actually doing right now is saying really depressing stuff, but in an excited way. And that doesn't count as making something funny. So I'm going to try to dial it back and acknowledge that what I'm saying is horrible. I think I'm a little bit jaded about it. And so
I'm
like
pretty
that's
sure
how I
that's-
live with it in my head. Yeah.
That's exactly what the dystopic future in the Metal Gear Solid franchise is entirely about.
Yeah, that's
It's just
right.
the sale of military goods.
You're right.
I don't know that franchise, but I can think of like 10 different dystopic franchises that it is like. So I just believe you.
Just pick and choose, really,
Yeah.
like a dartboard.
I mean, I actually did work for a company that sold services to help schools get prepared for active shooter.
Wow.
And stuff like that. There was a different division of the same company I worked for, and I'll tell you something. It really felt like we were selling them shit.
Oh my god!
It really felt like they had glass that was thick enough to stop a sniper bullet, and they sold that to schools. And you're like, well, schools aren't shot by snipers.
Yeah,
They're just preying on fear. It's just let's
Exactly.
create more fear so we can sell more shit.
Exactly.
Horrible shit.
It
Ugh.
really is awful, but
Yeah.
it was that took me down a dark spot. So Jonathan, bring us back up.
Sure.
Sorry.
An zany story.
I've told this story before, but not on this show, so that's fun. And it'll hopefully be new to all of you. People have asked me why haven't I ever done one of the real world road rules challenges, and I'm the only person from my season of road rules who is never on one of those. So I felt like I must have really done a terrible job or something, even though people still like you vaguely remember me, Josh. Hopefully it's nothing terrible that you remember. Like I wasn't the worst, I can imagine, but I was the worst on my season. So I thought, but then thinking back on it, I realized I'm pretty sure I know why they never called me back, and that's because one of their challenges came to where I was going to school at the time in Boston at the School and Museum of Fine Arts, and they were going to do a big mud wrestling mission on Lansdowne Street. And I thought, wow, I love wrestling. They will think this is so funny. And I'm in a monster wrestling art group called Kaiju Big Battle. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're still around. I was a wrestler. I got in like Godzilla costumes, homemade Godzilla costumes and stuff, and used to wrestle relative strangers. We once opened up for the 5-6-7-8s. They're the band who is in Kill Bill. Yeah. So we got to meet them and stuff. I've really just, probably sounds like I'm name dropping, but I'm just excited about the stuff I got to do when I was more interesting. So I thought, we were with the 5-6-7-8s. We're kind of cool. Kaiju Big Battle. They'll like this. So I got in this Minotaur costume that I had made where you could pull the horns out and they were nunchucks. And I was like, they're going to be, wow, TV is going to love this. And I snuck into Lansdowne Street with my boss at the time, who was like having to support my butt. I was like hiding in a stall because I knew they wouldn't want me there, and she was like keeping my butt up so I didn't fall down and like ruin my Minotaur costume. I was like hovering over the toilet so they didn't see my feet. It was a real adventure. And then eventually I got into the wrestling ring. I like jumped in to try to help, and it was an announcer from WFNX, the old radio station here in Boston, knew who I was and was like, John Holmes is in the ring, yeah, go for it. And I just got my butt kicked in mud wrestling because I was wearing a giant Minotaur costume. It's very hard to mud wrestle when wearing a Minotaur costume. And the bouncers threw me out, and I was like all covered in mud and Minotaur, whatever. And I looked over at the producer and was like, hey, Rick. And he just went. I never heard from her again. That was it. That was like a year after I was on.
Wow.
The rules I was on. They, never. I think I heard from them once. An intern called me. He was like, "We're just checking to make sure we have your right number, and if you want to be on the challenge." I was like, "Yeah, definitely." But I called them back a week later, and they're like, "Oh yeah."
Oh.
Yeah, that was the prank they played on that intern. You're gonna call John.
Maybe it was. So more of a past job story, but still.
Surely they know by now that like you wouldn't toss on the costume and do that again.
Who knows? I think they have no shortage and talk about getting people who they can make a fair amount of money off of, but not pay anything. We got paid $300 a week, I think.
Oh my God.
Wow. And it was $300 a week. They were, it was one of the highest rated shows on MTV at the time. Pulling in millions, but we got barely anything. And then before you know it, there's hundreds of us because they keep doing 2 new seasons of Real World. There was 2 seasons of Road Rules a year, so that was 10 new cast members, 10 or 11 per year that they could pull from for these challenges. They didn't have any shortage of people, so it wasn't going to be me because I'm a monster wrestling.
All right, well, that guy, everybody, that's our show. That's it. I don't have any way really to wrap this up, but thank you to Zach, thank you to Jake, thank you to Jonathan, thank you to Lynn, thank you to Matt in the booth, or it's actually his house, but we call it the booth. Thank you to Ben and Rachel. Please subscribe, like, and subscribe to 2MB Studios. When we're out of here. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.